What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Zootopia 2. This has been one of my most anticipated films of the year because I just love and adore that first Zootopia movie. Not only was it funny, but you also had mature themes that would go over kids' heads and adults would get immediately. Plus, you also had two likable leads that you wanted to follow. So when they announced that they were going to be making another Zootopia movie, I got really excited because I just wanted to go back into this world and see what new adventures they would be able to create, although that is something that is a little bit hard. Last year we had Moana 2, which was okay. I enjoyed it for what it was, didn't reach the heights that the first Moana did, so going into this movie, I have been really excited, but at the same time, kind of nervous because I just wanted to see if they would be able to reach the heights of that first film, and to a certain degree, they actually did. With Zootopia 2, you have Judy and Nick, who have been partners for about a year. They are going on a special assignment undercover when they find themselves on a twisted trail of a mysterious reptile who arrives in Zootopia, which they have not been seen in over 100 years. So now we have an adventure to hopefully be able to get those reptiles back into Zootopia and exactly discover why they haven't been around for hundreds of years. Starting off with the things that I enjoyed about this movie, it's the thing that I really enjoyed about the first Zootopia movie. It's the relationship between Judy and Nick, voiced by Jennifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman. These two have wonderful chemistry with one another, and that is what makes Zootopia 2 really enjoyable from beginning to end. It begins with them and it ends with them, and you just love seeing their camaraderie and exactly how they've been handling these situations a little bit more because they are on two different wavelengths. You have Judy, who is that upbeat, wants to get everything done, is really excited, and you have Nick, who is a bit more of the cautionary tale. He kind of keeps to himself, doesn't really like to open himself up, which causes them to go into counseling. The way that they were able to handle these characters is something that I wasn't really expecting because they do peel the layers a little bit on these two characters and exactly how they work, how they kind of have that odd couple comparison to each other, where you have two different people on two different wavelengths that don't really know exactly how to work together because they want to do things separately or want to do things differently. So seeing that kind of dynamic together with these two is great. I also like the overall story where you have a snake played by Ki Hui Kwan who hasn't been in Zootopia for hundreds of years for different reasons, and seeing what they were able to do with that character is something that I really enjoyed. The issue with that character is that we don't really get to spend a lot of time with that character, so it's kind of hard for you to get emotionally attached to its overall themes and what it's trying to do. But once we get to see more of this character, kind of gives you an idea as to where this story is going. That is when you start to get a little bit more emotionally attached to this character, and you do want to see this whole thing resolved because there are things in here that I was not expecting that actually did work a little bit better than I was expecting them to work. It does shift to a different story because it does tries to do something new, something refreshing, even if sometimes the pieces don't really work together because you do have a lot of characters that don't get a lot of limelight. This is mostly just focused on Judy and Nick, and you don't get a lot of the supporting characters thrown in here all too much like you did in the first film, which is fine because you didn't really need to have all those other characters in here. But whenever they are used, I really enjoyed seeing them and just seeing the dynamic between Judy and Nick and how they are two opposites trying to work together. You have some funny bits in here that, for the most part, actually do work. The humor isn't as sharp as it is in the first film, but there are a lot of funny moments that actually did have me howling from beginning to end, and there were some that I kind of wish were punched up a little bit better. Didn't take away from the overall experience, but I still enjoyed a lot of the bits that we have in here. A lot of the humor actually did work. The humor was more hit than it was misses, but you do get moments where it does misses. It doesn't miss by a lot, but it was just an okay attempt to humor. And there were also a lot of callbacks to that first film, which I kind of wish they dialed back a little bit more because it just felt a little bit forced. And it's one of the issues that I have when it comes to sequels. Sometimes when you are able to call back to the original films for fans, sometimes you will succeed, but it gets to a point where when it gets too much, that's when it gets overdoing. But I still really enjoy those callbacks. It put a big smile on my face and I really enjoyed those moments. My issue with Zootopia 2 is probably the reason why I enjoy the first one over the second one just slightly. If they were able to nail this aspect of the movie, then I think I would have preferred this one just by a hair margin over the first film, but that's because the story and the outcome that we have in here was fairly predictable. As soon as a certain character pops up, You know exactly where the story is headed, which is what caused me from somewhat not enjoying the movie as much as I wanted to. Because as soon as this character popped up, I knew exactly where the movie is going. Not sure if it was because of the first film, but the story beats in here are pretty familiar. You know exactly where the story is going, and I kind of wish they would be able to hone that back just a little bit more and keep it more of a surprise for some people. That might not be an issue. That might actually get you. But for me, as soon as it happened, I knew exactly where it was going. Once we get to the wrap up of the story, then that is when I'm like, okay, I knew exactly how this was going to end, and it ended exactly how the story ended. There are some moments here and there in the second act, towards the third act, when it starts to slow down just a little bit more. But once we get to that wrap up point, then I think that is when it comes a little bit more enjoyable and you actually care about these characters, because that's the one thing that I really enjoyed about this movie is the fact that they infused a lot of heart, the same heart that you have in that first film, you get in here in space, and a lot of that has to do with the camaraderie between Judy and Nick. If these two didn't work in here and made them a little bit more different, then I think I would have preferred the first one so much more than the second one. But slightly, I enjoyed the first one a little bit more than Zootopia 2. It is a worthy follow up for my buck. I really enjoyed the story that we have here, including some characters that we get introduced that I thought brought a little bit more to the world of Zootopia. It opened up the world a little bit more, and it opened up the lore so that if they wanted to make a Zootopia 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then you have places to go. And a lot of that had to do with the camaraderie between Judy and Nick. Those two characters, Jennifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman, have such wonderful chemistry. They are well written. Some points here and there could have been punched up a little bit more, but overall, I came out with a really big smile on my face. It is a movie that you should definitely check out in theaters, and it most definitely is a worthy sequel to the first Zootopia if you really enjoyed that first film. If you didn't, then it's probably not going to be up your alley, but overall, I came out with a big smile on my face. But those are my thoughts on Zootopia 2. Have you guys checked it out? Are you planning on checking it out for the Thanksgiving breaks? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys for the next video.